Hello, my friends. This is Rick, and this is your seat at the table. Of course, we've been down that a couple times. What we have here is another installment for Middle-earth role-playing game from Iron Crown Enterprises, also known as MERP, the Assassins of Dol Amroth. Ready to run fantasy role-playing adventure module. All right. This one here, I ran a couple times to mixed results. I actually ran this once as a straight D&D adventure and using D&D rules and stuff, and I just changed the place settings just a hair. Otherwise, there's not a lot of meat to these things. There's typical module, not a whole lot of background extra stuff, which a lot of the MERP stuff usually gives you a bit more background or site locations and things like this. Here, let's see. This was published in 1987, 2 years after I graduated high school. I would have been 20, right? Don't have a price tag on it, I don't think. It was under 10 bucks. I know that much. I think these were like 8 bucks back then. So we got the guidelines, handling play, converting statistics. Once again, I say this on many of these videos. One of the advantages of MERP system is that it comes with all the what you need to adapt it to any role-playing game mechanic system you choose or you prefer. So if you want to run MERP using Fate, it's real easy to do. So on and so forth. Right. So player characters, Adventure 1. So you got Adventure 2, Adventure 3. And let's see if we can find the, alright, the task. The player's objective here will be simple enough once things get underway. There is a question of survival in a fight with the assassin. They must also find their way back to the streets above. If they are morally motivated, they will probably also need to avenge the murder they have witnessed. Let's see. All right. So, and I've said this before too. I've noticed that not every module is equal, and some are better put together than others. This one here just throws you immediately straight into the information. There's no opening gambit. There's no description, or it's really not, in my opinion. It could have been a little better. But the point here is the first adventure is your characters are on the docks or in a street in Dol Amroth, and they witness the assassination of a fairly locally well-known local war hero, and how are your characters going to react and how they're going to cope with or deal with it at that point. All right, so I mean, maybe the only reason Pod has chosen the profession of warrior is his size. At childhood, he dealt blah blah blah. Tale is told the Prince's hunting lodge as a young boy, raised in a scullery by his unwed mother, took on, so these are player characters. Pot Small, Bracken, Jim Hawthorne, Branch New Branch, Treasure the Bliher. So, all right. Adventure 2, more of the characters, NPCs that you encounter. Adventure 3, more of the characters. That you're going to NPCs you're going to be able to interact with. Here we go. Murder on the dock. See, to me this section should have been in the back, but it's just my opinion. The area around Dol Amroth or Doranel is a pleasant region with fair weather, gentle terrain. Since late first ages, comfortable lands have been had by a number of different peoples, both elves and men. With the founding of Gondor, a new era began. Blah blah blah. The tale of Tanero the Ranger. Tanner is the latter end of the impressive career service and is court Dromoth, and he's brutally assassinated and killed. And you guys see it. And so the setting is this Newport Quarter, Dromoth, tucked amid more active building stands and abandoned warehouse. Fortis, the grain seller, years of business success were brought rapidly to an end for Fortis when in the same month 7 ships and both of his sons were lost to pirates in the bay. Poor man has become something of a hermit now that's left to remainder his holdings to fall into disrepair. The warehouse is one piece of property he has held on to, but has done nothing to keep it up, make use of it several years. Sal is now sometimes the home for various wandering vagrants, serving no other purpose. So we got the warehouse, the location, its settings. The NPCs here, Only one NPC note involved in this adventure, which is the Shadow Sword, i.e. the assassin, dressed in all in the shades chosen gray. This tall man cuts an imposing figure. His face is covered by a swath of cloth. Hands are gloved. Across his back slings a light broadsword, so on and so forth. Hall, Thieves' Common, False Treasury, the Anteroom. Used to be used as a lounge when the business was in place was still business. There you go, Frankie. Rather nice once upon a time, and blah, blah, blah. And there's an underground addition. Somebody cut into the back, and there's apparently a skeleton in there. Right. It's been a long time since I've used this one. Bunk room, bridge room, corridor, treasure room, brigand chief's bedroom. Task. The player's character, this objective is simple enough once things get in their way. There's a question of survival and fight with the assassin. They must also find their way back to the streets above. They are morally motivated. They probably need to see the avenge of the murder they witnessed. Right. Starting the players, obstacles, encounters, rewards. There be no need for obstacles beyond those already included in the description above. The traps and the words are set by you up there. What did you do, Frankie? You can get up there? Okay. You know the party on a simple excursion to town will probably have their weapons and armor, perhaps a torch for the trip home at night. Will not have such adventurous items as rope, lanterns, provisions, and equipment. Well, we'll go back to player agency and GM agency. This is trying to tell you the limit what the characters have access to, and they shouldn't have all their extra field gear with them. But I guess it depends on how the characters got into town, what they're doing, etc., and the players. The players may insist on carrying all their gear with them, and you can't argue with them. You can. Don't advise it. Rewards. Above and beyond the spiritual gains that come from bringing a murderer to justice, the adventure holds substantial worldly rewards as well. The artifacts left behind by the thieves and their personal gear, as well as their treasure chamber, constitute a generous haul for a band of youth. There will also be some degree of public acclaim bestowed on the adventurers who avenge the death of such a popular man as Tanero. Encounters. Right? And we go to the next adventure. Is a home by the sea. In the wake of their assassination of Taran the Ranger, the Shades have grown bolder in their activities, attacking parties on the roads around Dol Amroth to hone their skills in preparation for the eventual execution of their leaders' designs. Home by the Sea is set in this period centers upon ambush. The PCs are those who fought in the murder. If the PCs are those who fought in the murders on the docks, attack can be considered an act of vengeance on the death of J.R.R. Otherwise, it can be explained as a random act part of the Shades training. The adventure that grows out of this assault will provide several tests for players in which their minds and their morality will be called to task, as well as their combat abilities. The rich countryside around the city of Dol Amroth is dotted with manors, the region's powerful men, knights of the nobility, particularly wealthy merchants, and the leaders of some of the craftsman guilds. In the evenings, the owners of these mansions entertain themselves by throwing gala parties for their neighbors as dusk comes down. The dust of the roads that wind between them is stirred from a day-long rest by passing a happy, talkative bands on foot or horseback, going out for an evening of merriment. The adventure Home by Sea begins just such an evening with a group of PCs on their way to such a party. They stroll happily toward the home of an old wine merchant who is known for his festivities, fashionably late and ready for an evening of quiet fun. We call the tale of Gavin Trollbridge. The House of Gallows, but a minor nobility in Dol Amroth. Basically, the younger son of the owner went off to seek fame and fortune, and actually gained some notoriety as being a terrible opponent of trolls. He really hates the trolls. His older brother, though, gets sick and dies. His dad passed away, and more or less the family's estate's left to in occasional neighbor comes over and helps keep the place up a little bit, but otherwise it's just falling apart. And it's on the idea that Gavin was going to return at some point. He now lives. So eventually, he does find his way home. Realize that no one's home to welcome him. Has broken his mind completely. Now he kind of haunts the place, and some of the neighbors think the place is haunted. They don't realize that the younger son has returned, and he's terribly distraught by the fact that everybody is his older brother and his father passed away. Gavin the Troll is the lost adventuring son of the house, a man of impressive size, 6'8", weighing over 300 pounds. The NPCs, the Shades, a group of assassins made of 8 second-level Shades. They're all clothed in gray livery of their cult, full body covering shroud their heads, carry broadswords, throwing daggers, 5 of each in their belts. And as part of their normal team procedure, each has a shrill whistle on a chain about his neck, which he uses to bring his fellows in for a kill. The manor house itself, a reasonably well-traveled country lane, not far from the city of Dol Amroth, close by the sea, stands the Growler family manor, renown, set in small woods. There's the manor itself. Breakdown of the rooms and locations. Master bedroom. So the task at this night's adventure task laid out Claire's crystal, symbol survival. They're attacked and pursued, and they will have to fight using stealth as well as strength to save themselves. The players may choose to expand their objectives by attempting to capture an attacker, seeking to understand the mystery of the old man, or just hunting for loot. This is up to them. The balance of the game, however, should be that such as their main concern is staying alive. Characters can be drawn to this venture in several ways. Be on their way to parties suggested above, or simply traveling the countryside for some other reason. Only important factors: they be led on the road by a ran at about 8. Around 8 o'clock on one cold, blustery night. At this point, it will be easy enough for the gym to get things rolling. A party passes by the front of the Gallow Manor, and ambush has been set up. And then you chase the bad guys down and eliminate them, and run through the house and run into the old man. And aid will be hard to come by in this adventure. All of the NPCs involved will be ill-disposed towards the player, so they will find no friends. Only real help they might get will arise from the fact that Gavin is more fond of the Shades than he is of any other trespasser. This is true of his dogs as well, of course. Obstacles, of course, the main obstacle players face takes the form of a gang of grey-cloaked assassins with the skills of stealth and night fighting on their side. The possibility of bringing in reinforcements from the outside of the gym should also use these foes to give his players quite a run for their money. And to this will be Gavin himself, his dogs, the traps he set around the house. This all should make for an interesting night. Rewards for the player's survival is not enough. There's also a fair amount of treasure to be had inside Ranaran. The household goods alone, not to mention Gavin's things, should keep them happy enough. Encounters. Right. This brings us to the third adventure, the Hill of Shades. This is by the stronghold where the head shade, Gontran the Shade, is at in his others and his plans. And if the players have followed the path of the 2 other adventures, eventually lead to this trying to figure out who these shades are, where they're coming from, to shut them down. And that's pretty much what that whole section of adventure is about. So we got a couple big NPCs, the setting, the location inside the old fortress. The layouts and the maps and stuff. The task the PCs will play is reasonably straightforward. Their mission is to seek out and destroy the cult of assassins with careful management. This will provide them with an evening of play where they walk a line between power and peril, and in the end their victory over the Shades. Starting the characters, aids, rewards, obstacles. There is an impressive force standing in opposition to the party that undertakes this mission. The main obstacle they will face is a group of Shades that are in residence at the hill. In addition, unless they are able to approach the hill without being detected, any of the watchers that are stationed along the routes in the guard who spots them will send a signal to the hill by coming to a pre-assigned point within sight of the inner guards and giving a sign, and then make a circuit to gather outer sentries, a total of 4, and bring them into the fray. These are designed for use as reinforcements to be used if needed. The GM should set their experience level and time arrival to fit the flow of the game, and if things are going too badly for the player characters, they need not come at all. The skill of assassins, the amazing swordsmanship of Barthrod, and the evil cunning and magic of Gontran should go together to make an adventure truly lively indeed. Material rewards, the gain available is relatively unimpressive. The gold Gontran has hoarded in magical devices in the storeroom of the tower, as well as a few items of value in the person of the other assassins will cost them to constitute some small profit. If the player's power tend towards materialism, the GM should consider this when setting the reward offered by the prince. Beyond the possible monetary gains, though, there is the glory and reputation that will come from ridding the city of this menace, and of course the peace of mind that comes from working for a good cause. So we have the counters, game master notes, and that's pretty much it. So when we look at it, your typical short run series of three mini adventures that can be linked together, and nice little cutaway map of the Dol Amroth and the region. I always like these things because I look at all these red structures and I think it just reminds me just how populated Gondor really is, and all the towns and manor houses and castles and stuff like this shows why the population is pretty robust even in the era of the Lord of the Rings, or Return of the King. This here is set about 1,500 years before the Return of the King, so it's still the plague is just 4 years past, and a lot of people died, and then there's been invasions from Easterlings and other tribes and stuff, and there's been issues, but it's still a pretty robust country with lots of resources and manpower. So there's Assassins and Dol Amroth.